If y'all are listening to this and you've never played the game, you really should.
Seriously,
Like, you
you should be playing
really
the game.
should.
The game's absolutely.
It's so much fun.
Welcome to A Bunch of Us, a nerdy bunch weekly discussion on HBO Max series adaptation of The Last of Us. My name's English Dave, and help me figure out if there are such things as Firefly people is my co-host Raven. What's up, Raven?
What up, Dave?
Are they such? Do you think there's such things as Firefly people? I'd like to see what that looks like.
I mean, that does sound exciting.
Right? It sounds like another stage of the evolutionary process of the infected. They go through different stages. You have the regular stage, the clicker stage, the bloater stage, and the
Maybe they
fireflies.
bloat and burst into
Or
fireflies.
maybe it's like a cocoon type thing, right? Where the bloater is the cocoon and a firefly bursts out their stomach. There you go. Neil Druckmann,
Maybe
we just gave you an idea for The Last
there
of
it
Us
is. We
Part
fixed it.
3. This episode is episode 6, titled Kin, and the synopsis is as follows. After ignoring the advice of locals, Joel and Ellie descend deeper into the dangerous territory in search for the Fireflies and Tommy. What I liked about the beginning of this episode, just to get straight into it, is that after last week's episode, the tragic death of both Sam and Henry, it was interesting to have for this episode to open with like a moment of levity, because I thought that opening was hilarious. The two people they meet, what are their names? Marlon and Florence. These are characters that are not from the game. So what did you feel? What did it feel for you to kind of be introduced to these characters in this manner?
I mean, I love that. Again, we get to see like how every type of human reacted to this scenario, and we got to see anything from people in a major city to people all the way out in the countryside. And I love how the husband, what was his name?
Marlon.
Yeah, I love that Marlon had said like, no, we lived out here way before all that.
Right? Since you were born, before you were born, Sonny.
Right, and it's the truth. I love that, yeah, that Marlon and his wife just show, a typical older married couple. Even just their dialogue with one another, you made him soup? Yeah, it was cold.
Why didn't you shoot him? The gun's all over
The
him.
gun was over there. It's like, duh. She's like, but she's also like, he didn't harm me. I can see that.
When he's like, "Oh, I came here all long before you were here," and she's like, "I didn't want to stay."
Yeah, I love it. It's just very much like a married couple conversation. I like that we get to kind of see that contrast and then we get to get kind of a hint that at bare minimum, there's not many infected out here.
Yes.
That like a rough day out here is the cold.
Yes.
It's not you having to worry about uh infected or even people really. From what we can tell, the only time that they deal with people is near the river.
Mhm. They don't go near
Don't
the
yeah, you don't go near the river.
river.
But yeah, I love them. I love that we kind of got some comedic moments because I was worried going into this episode that we are gonna have another tragic, heart-wrenching episode. And I like that this one out of all of them is kind of the most
Mhm.
lighthearted and hopeful.
Mhm.
I think that you kind of get a sense of hope in this whole episode.
Yes, yes. Well, it's also 3 months have passed since the last episode. We're now we're in winter. In the game, I miss the title tags that the game has, where it's like winter,
I
spring.
do. I thought they were gonna show them, honestly.
I thought they were going to do that as well. But
Yeah.
what I like, and I think it's a consistent thing we keep seeing in this show, is that everyone they meet, for the most part, are people who are coupled up in some way. Two people, two people, two people, either brothers or lovers or whatever. It's always two people. And it's almost like an interesting reflection of Joel and Ellie. Because if you look at this couple who have been together for so long and only been together, that's almost an alternate foreshadowing of a possibility of Joel and Ellie. Obviously, it's not a married couple, but just two people alone. No one else
Yeah.
is there. And this sense of a relationship that's underneath the way the husband and wife joke with each other. You can tell they spent a lot of time together. The way they joke, and we get a hint of things like that later on in the episode. Not to jump ahead, when Ellie mentions about wanting to be an astronaut, right? And Joel guesses who she'd want to be, which is Sally Ride. it's almost a sense of Joel understanding Ellie more as a person. Like, of course, you would like this person. Not it's not a sense of he just takes a wild guess. It's like he understands her enough to know who her favorite astronaut would possibly be. So I like these kind of touches through other characters of informing us of the relationship between Ellie and Joel. And I think in this episode, we spoke about it before, this show does a great job of slowly kind of unraveling the relationship between Joel and Ellie, right? That ends at first. Ellie didn't want Joel at first. She'd rather have had Tess take care of her, But by
Yeah,
the end of this episode,
or anybody really.
anybody else. But by the end of the episode, she's like, "No, I choose you, fucker. Let's go." Instantly she gets mad and upset that he wouldn't be with her. And but I'm jumping ahead over there. Before we get there, Joel wants to find his brother, and I love that he's in this whole wide place. He thinks these people would have heard of his brother Tommy. He's like, never heard of him. I didn't tell you his name. Does he look like you? Yeah, never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of 'em.
Um, when they leave, though, they don't heed the warning about not passing the Yellowstone River. We get a moment that becomes a recurring thing in this episode. Joel's panic attacks. At first, I thought it was a heart attack, something foreshadowing a heart attack, but later on, we find out it's more panic attacks. What I like about this episode as well is that it does a great job of humanizing Joel in a way that we don't see in the game, in the sense of him recognizing his own weaknesses. In the moment of the panic attack, in the moment with the dog, I was scared for him in that moment. And for Ellie, I thought this dog was going to rip the shit out of her, or at least attack. He'd have to do something. And then even later on, when he's admitting to Tommy that I was scared, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I froze. So, what do you think of seeing that side of Joel in a way that we didn't really see or get to see in the game?
I mean, I love it because in the game we do get senses of vulnerability, but it's mostly because of amazing voice acting.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
it's honestly just some amazing voice acting work. You can tell by tone that Joel is possibly feeling, um, more open to Ellie, or, because in the beginning, it's like even just tonally, vocally, Joel's character is a lot more gritty
Hmm.
and then becomes a lot more gentle in conversation with Ellie by the end of the series. But like you said, in the show, I actually like the fact that, we do get to see these vulnerable sides of him. And I do like it that we get to see his character kind of deal with his PTSD as opposed to assuming that he has it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and I like the idea that also, Joel is running out of people to protect. Like he gets all the way out to Jackson. He goes on his grand quest because he keeps telling himself he did this trip because his brother. I'm
Yeah, he's
going out
probably
there
me.
because my brother. You just happen to be here with me, but you're just cargo. I'm going to see my brother. So to spend literal months traveling, across country to finally find your brother, and your brother is not only fine, but he's thriving, possibly better than he's ever been in his entire life.
Doesn't look old.
And doesn't look old at all. He looks great. He looks great. I will say great casting. It's Pedro Pascal and Gabriel Luna, I actually believe
Yep.
could be brothers.
Yep. I believe.
Even though in the original casting, I was like, nah. And then I saw the side by side and the beards, and I was like, God damn it, it's
Also, I
genius.
think their rapport. They act. I feel like
Right.
dynamic. They feel like brothers.
Right, like they both have the same kind of accent down, like mannerisms, there's certain things that they imitate with each other, and I feel like it just goes to show, there's some amazing acting from their part that we believe that there's a bond there that's gone on for years.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you said, I do love all the subtle hints. I do love that Joel is lightening up to Ellie.
Hmm.
It's like ultimately you are with it's just you two. You may as well have a good time.
But it's almost that fact that he's opening more to Ellie is part of the reason why he wants to kind of ship her off to Tommy, right?
Yeah.
Because he's feeling emotions and he's scared and he's told himself, I can't do this. And like you said, he's lost so much every time he's tried to protect someone from his point of view, he's lost that person. Every time. He even says to Ellie, you don't know what loss feels like. But her rebuttal is like, well, everyone's left me except for you. You're the only one, and now you want to leave me as well. And no matter what he tells her, the subtext is that he's afraid to lose again. That moment with the dog, when he doesn't know what's going to happen. It's almost a reflection of how his daughter died, right? Someone armed pulls a gun on them. It's like that flashback. For as tough as Joel can be, for as resourceful as he can be, he can't fight the PTSD. It just knocks him and he freezes. He has no idea what to do, and he worries about that. Yeah, he admits to Tommy, "I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do if that happens," because I think the emotions have overwhelmed him in such a place that he doesn't want to feel that loss again. So he'd rather just let Ellie go, than hold on to her. But let's backtrack a bit. We're introduced to Jackson, the community, thriving community, and this is a difference from the game. Slight spoilers: you don't really see Jackson in the first game. We go to the dam, I believe, right near
Yeah.
Jackson. They're fixing it, and we don't see Jackson till the second game.
I love that there's this little pocket of, humanity left, and that there are kids somewhere who don't have a potty mouth and aren't armed and, get to be kids. Um,
I did.
so I love those moments where you get that comparison and you get to realize, like, Joel and Ellie are actually the strange ones.
Right.
Right, because also you're reminded that this has been going on for 20 years. It makes
Yep,
sense that society would start to rebuild itself by now.
right.
So there are people who have moved on, there are people who have found some sense of humanity, some sense of community. So it is nice kind of like seeing that, and also seeing I want to say, juxtaposition to Ellie and Joel, where you're looking at these people who are borderline savages.
Mhm,
Like, you haven't washed, you haven't eaten a real meal. They're eating with, hunched over, scarfing down food, they're cursing and shit at the table. And I love it too, because you can tell both Maria and Tommy, have obviously like a southern kind of upbringing, or just
mhm.
like a proper upbringing. So for them, they're even like, whoa,
Yeah.
to
Even in
Ellie.
the beginning with the couple we meet, they're just like, "Well, she's got a mouth on her," you know?
Yeah. 'Cause you do keep getting reminded that, like, even though this is 20 years in the future, and even though people have been through a lot, it's still kinda wild to see a kid act this way,
Right, right.
and you also forgive Joel for constantly treating Ellie like a kid, because she is.
Which is also a great moment of a subtle moment of showing Joel slipping into fatherhood when he tells her like, "Hey, watch your mouth," he apologizes for her manners, things like that. That's such a father moment because I feel like Joel from a few episodes ago wouldn't have cared. But time has passed.
Mhm.
It's been 3 months. They spent at least 3 months together, and so he's starting to kind of, without realizing, subconsciously, it's slipping out. He can't not be dad, right? That's
Yeah,
kind of like default. He goes back to dad.
yeah,
He talks about wanting to be a farmer on a ranch and herd sheep, but really, he wants to be a dad. He can talk all he wants, but he could have
yeah,
left Ellie a long time ago, but he kind of subtly goes back in there. Um, I also like these moments at Jacksonville, like you said. I think showing the stability of what some places can look like. Especially it's been 20 years, but it also does a great job to juxtapose in terms of the children. Ellie as a person, as a character, she's just constantly cursing. What you looking at? Which for fans of the game, there's a little hint at who she's talking to when she says, "What you looking at?" Though the creators haven't denied or accepted that as truth, but it's a little wink. I won't spoil it for those of you who have not played the games. Um, what I also like in Jacksonville is we get to see more development between Tommy and Joel as brothers, right? Joel came with a goal in mind. Joel's always felt, and sometimes, yeah, he was right, that he's always had to protect Tommy. The first episode, he has to not break, he has to bail Tommy out of prison and things like that. So he's taken up on this role of like this big brother. I have to protect no matter what he thinks. The first thing he says to Tommy when he sees him, "I came to save you." Clearly, Tommy doesn't need saving, but Joel always tells, "Yes, you do. Yes, you do." He mentions, "Oh, this is just like communism," and Tommy gets a moment like, "No, it's not." And Miria's like, "Yes, it is. We're a commune," and it's not.
I love that moment because you can tell he never thought about it
Right?
until that moment.
It's like, "Oh, shit." But again, in a situation like that, like Joel tells Ellie later on, that communist idea in a situation like that with the smaller numbers isn't a bad idea. It only becomes a bad idea once you come countrysized, right? But in this kind of sense, you start seeing Tommy has changed, and Tommy's almost embarrassed of who he used to be and who Joel still is. Right, and it's like you get a sense that when he tells Joel, "I couldn't contact you because rules," you get a sense of like, yeah, but he kind of liked that that rule was there. He was distancing
Yeah, you
himself.
like that. You like that distance, you
Right, he
know?
was distancing himself from that. And there's one line when he says to Joel, "We used to do all these things. We did whatever we had to do, but that wasn't the only way. There are other ways. We're just not good at them." What I love about that, and I've said this so many times, what I don't like about post-apocalyptic narratives is that it always leaves the audience thinking, "Oh my god, if this happens, I have to get all the guns, kill people, do all this stuff to." Like Joel does in the first episode, leave that family, don't help them, all that kind of stuff. And a moment like that is saying, well, that's not the good. That's not how we should have been doing
Yeah.
things. Tommy has that realization. We could have found other ways. And look around you. Jackson is another way. You don't always have to be fighting and attacking. And you were wrong. Just and I love what he says, just because what did he say? Just because you lost everything? Something like
Yeah, just because you lost everything doesn't mean like basically like, life for me
just because
has
life
to
stopped for you
stop.
doesn't mean it stopped for the rest. It's just stopped for me. It's almost like Tommy was living under Joel's shadow, but not the typical little brother, big brother side where y- you're envious and you can never attain what you feel your older brother can do. It was a shadow in sense of I don't want to be like you. You forced me to be like you, and I never liked it. And the first opportunity I had to leave, I did. He did that in the military. They didn't go to military together. He left pretty much
Yeah.
himself. He wanted to join the Fireflies. He always wanted to kind of pull away from Joel as opposed to want to. And I think Joel doesn't see that until later he starts realizing, oh, like he tells Joel, "My wife is pregnant," and Joel's like, "Who's this woman? I don't know who she is. Get her away." Like he gets the sense
Right,
that
bro.
jealousy, it's almost a jealousy as well.
Yeah.
But I like that
Like, if it was serious enough for him to have a communication with you, then it's
mhm,
it's serious,
when
and
Ellie's like, "Congratulate them, Joel."
that's what I was gonna say. She's also fulfilling the kid role,
Right, right.
because we all have those moments where our parents do a little too much, and we gotta be like, Dad," So I do love that too. That we get these moments of reminders that, like, Joel's been on his own for a while now,
hmm hmm And
and
right
he
now,
hasn't had to answer to anybody in a minute.
but right now he's driven by fear as well because when he tries everything,
Mm,
he tries to lash out at Tom, he tries all that stuff, and then he, like we said earlier, he finally admits, like, I am scared, I don't know what to do. Tells Tommy about his panic attacks. And I love when
right.
he's like, I failed in my dreams. I was like, oh, even dreaming about your failure, ouch. you know, and
Yeah.
Tommy being the good little brother or good brother, wants to take Ellie, and I also loved the moment where Joel tells Ellie and Ellie's reaction. We talked about that just now. That reaction was very, again, not many episodes ago. He's not my father, she's not my daughter. That Ellie wants him to be around, stick around, stick around, stick around. Which again is ironic to how this episode ends, which we'll get to in a bit. But what did you feel of that moment? When Ellie goes out expecting Tommy to take her, and Joel is there.
I mean, well, first of all, for me, I knew it was coming because obviously I played the game. But I did like the way that it played out a lot better. In the game, it is not a quick decision at all. It is not an overnight, oh, I slept on it situation. In the game, Ellie gets kidnapped.
Yes.
And in Ellie getting kidnapped, Joel has to go and save her along with Tommy. And when they save her, he realizes, like, no, like, I'm
I
sticking
care.
with her.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this because I give a shit. But, she had to be kidnapped.
Which fun fact?
And also in the game, she ran away. She ran away because she didn't want to go with Tommy, actually, and then she got kidnapped when she ran away. But what were you saying? Fun
No, I
fact.
was gonna say fun fact. In the game, when Joel finds out who might have taken her, he's interrogating two people. And he does the interrogation technique that he does with the old people we see in the beginning, where it's like
He
in
does.
the map. It's like point the map. If it's the same place, I'll believe you. So I like
Right. It better be the same place.
right,
If it's not the same, I'm shooting one of you.
but
But I will say again, this is another character moment where they changed for the better
yes,
in the show because in the game he shoots them
yeah,
both.
still kills.
He literally says, point to it on the map. They both told the truth. He shot one guy. The other guy said, "Hey man, he just told you the truth." And he said, "I don't care," and shot the other one and walks away. So in the game, it's a very, very badass,
More
amazing moment. But for like real life, I guess it's fucked up.
yeah, right.
So I'm glad that we didn't go that route. I'm glad that also a lot of the changes so far in the show have I feel been for the audience reception.
100%.
Um, because obviously I feel like gamers in general have a different mindset. You know, you like shoot 'em up games. If you play any type of game that's a shooter game, you become desensitized to like what's actually happening. You're just enjoying the game. But for somebody who's not playing a literal game and having to witness that at home or witness the same story but real bodies, it's very different in live action. So I do like that so far most of the changes we've gotten have kind of helped the audience view Joel as the hero type or as a positive kind of figure as a protagonist. Where really there's a lot of things that, audience wise, we haven't seen from Joel, but we see kind of his remorse. And I think that
Yes.
that's what we all get to hang on to is that, like, but he feels bad,
But
you
you
know?
understand what he was like, what he did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I do love that.
he's going through, it's almost like he's going through the penance of that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
And in the moment of him going back to get Ellie, I love the acceptance because ultimately, like you said, he's afraid. It's the same as like when you meet somebody that's amazing when you're dating and everything's going great and you're like, "Oh, I'm out of here. It's too
right.
real." People do it all the time. So it's like, that it's easy to go throughout something lifeless, but once you actually have a feeling for this kid, like rewinding real quick to the moment with the dog, Joel's absolutely helpless in that
Yep.
scenario. And I'm sure that he probably thought of every scenario that Ellie could be taken out in. But this is probably the one thing he didn't see coming.
Yep.
And this is another time where again he's been caught off guard. A whole group was able to approach them and corner them and literally surround them without him having any inkling that it was coming. In the game, we would have heard that shit. Um, he would have heard it from a mile away.
Right. Super
Um,
strength.
right, but I love, and these moments that we're getting, he's afraid. He has a panic attack when he thinks he sees his daughter, you know, um,
Oh, I love that moment, by the way. Let's just stop on
yeah.
that moment.
Yeah,
Because even you as the audience are like, is that her? It looks like, Nico Parker. They did a great job of like the hair. And I think they did a great job of having someone that could look like what Sarah would look like if she had
right,
survived.
older.
The age, like even having a child that could be his grandchild. That moment of what if, right? They had that moment of what if, like this could have been my life,
Yeah,
and it's almost like a tease because it's
like
not.
my
Right,
kid would be that age. I would have grandkids
right,
now.
right. You could have
That's
been living in a place
tough.
like
Like,
this. You know,
exactly.
she would be having a cousin being born soon.
Yeah,
Things like
yeah.
that. So it's that kind of like perfect life that Joel almost sees, which adds again to his level of fear because they say love is also loss, right? The more you love, the more painful that loss is going to be, and he's loved and lost too many times, and it keeps pushing him down, pushing him down,
Don't
pushing
want to be hurt again. And I don't blame him,
right?
having to witness one child figure or, pass away is hard enough, let alone getting attached to another one and then having to lose that again after the loss you've already been dealing with for 20 years. So
But the hard thing, but I
that's
think
tough.
the hardest thing for someone like Joel, like Bill told him a few episodes ago, as much as you fight it, this is who we are. We're protectors. You know,
And he doesn't have Tommy to look after anymore.
right?
So
You
what is your mission? And I think
protect someone.
and also I want to say that too. I feel like that was also a part of the panic attack was the realization of like the mission's over. A lot of soldiers have a problem with
Mhm.
that. That's what a lot of PTSD is stemmed from is the fact that, the mission is over. What do you do now? You spent so much time dedicated to this. And it's like, again, getting to Jackson and realizing that your brother's fine. You've been
Yeah.
freaking out
He
for
didn't need
months.
you. You came all across the country.
Right.
Your brother.
On purpose.
You told yourself.
Went silent off the radio on purpose because and without warning too, which I think is fucked up. He could have told his brother, "Look, I'm gonna be gone for a while. I'm alive. I'm okay. Don't come looking for
But
me."
then he knows Joel will come looking for him.
This is
Joel,
true.
because you remember Joel has this narrative in his head and what he tells people, oh, my brother's a follower. He joins these clubs. He doesn't know what's good for him. Blah blah blah. So if he gets a call from his brother saying, "Oh, don't come. I'm safe with these people," Joel's like, "Oh, here we go again. He's joined another group. I have to go save him again." Because Joel's told himself.
True.
In fact, the narrative that Joel told himself is that my brother's still a fuck up. It's like it's been 20 years. Your brother's grown. He's not this little fuck up that he
Right.
was as a kid. But
He's an adult now.
Joel can't let go. Again, I think that's part of that. Joel wasn't just, you have some you understand. You have a sibling as well. When some sibling relationships, it's not just siblings. Sometimes the older sibling has to act as a parent. And I think that's what Joel put himself. He's such a dad to Sarah. He's such a dad to Ellie, and I think in some ways he's a dad to Tommy. He can't accept that Tommy doesn't need him. Um, but after Ellie does choose Joel, without any thought, I love that Joel still tries to give her a choice, as if he wants her to pick him. I think he still wants her to pick Tommy. It's like, oh, he's better than me. Who do you want? And she instantly picks him.
No,
Um,
he's insecure.
we do I do like that we get moments again, in writing. Every time, be aware. Every time they have good moments, it's usually followed by a bad moment. I did
Yeah.
like that. I did like that he he takes Tommy's rifle. I was gonna take it. Tommy's like, I would have given it to you. Like,
No, the horse too.
oh,
We were gonna steal a horse. We could have just given you a horse.
yeah.
It's just such a sibling thing.
But it's also
'Cause I take my siblings' clothes, my younger cousins, my younger siblings, like, I'm taking your hoodie if I like it. I'm out. Bye.
but I also
They'll
think
be like, "You coulda had it." "Nah, okay,
I
I'm
also think
taking it."
it's a Joel thing in the sense of, Joel has been living this life of um
We're having to steal stuff, this, like,
taking
renegade
you
lifestyle.
scrounge whatever you can.
Yeah.
You have stuff you can take. You don't have to scrounge. You know. We get. I love the other dad moment when Joel's teaching Ellie how to shoot the rifle, and she's like, "It's not working. The sight's off," and he gets it. It's that kind of like dad moment of like, "I'm better than
That is a dad moment because there's some things parents can do that you'll never understand.
right, right." They just
That you will try maybe for your whole life and never get. That you might never get it down, and it
right,
looks like magic to you, and no
right,
matter how hard they try to teach you, you always feel like they left a step out
right.
because they just smirk and giggle as they absolutely kill it on whatever they're
It's
doing,
like it's
on whatever
impossible.
talent.
Never hit that shot.
Right.
I'm just like, I can show you, kid, a thing or two. And I did like
Grown
again.
man.
There's a nice moment, and then moments of levity for the two of them, even when they're going towards the university. When he mentions about, again, from the game, this is a nod to the game, that he'd like to be a musician.
He said he wants to be a singer. I was like, "Oh,
And she's like, wait, what?
what country singer?"
She's like, sing
I
some.
love how it's random for him, but that's only the way that she knows him now.
Well, I mean, if you don't know the game as the audience member just watching the show, you're just like, wait, what? A singer? That's what you want to do? You're a killer in my head. Um,
Right.
just like the game, they get to the university, no fireflies. She sees monkeys for the first time, and also I love when Joel tells her. I love how they sidestep his political views. Where it's like, which side were you? Neither. I was a contractor. Everybody loves contractors. Like, yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Revision.
There you go, sure.
The future.
Way
Everyone in
to
the
do
future
it.
would believe that in the past, the contractors were the shit. They were superheroes. The contractor.
Right. The contractor. Yeah.
Um, and this is where we slightly differ from the game. Obviously, in the game, we have to break up these moments of cutscenes with gameplay. In the game, I believe we meet some clickers and stuff at the university, right? There's a fight, a clicker fights in the university.
In the university, it gets overrun at some point with Fedra. Fedra just
Yes, yes,
happens to
yes, yes.
be
And Frederick.
there, but I forget like why.
Yes, but
I don't know why.
yeah, I can't remember why Fedra was there.
Actually, it would make
Oh
sense
no,
if it's a Firefly.
because they rushed
Yes, it's a Firefly headquarters, so there would be Fedra hanging around,
and established that they left in
keeping
a
the area
hurry.
clean. Yeah, they left in a hurry. Yeah, and you do get there in the game and there's nothing going on. But when you first arrive in the game, there's like a crazy horde that you have to get through before you
Yes,
get to the college.
yes, yes,
And then yes, there's also clickers in the college and
yes.
Fedra, which
But and
is
this one is just a random group.
if y'all are listening to this and you've never played the game, you really should.
Seriously, should be,
Like, you
you should be playing
really
the game.
should.
The game's
It's
absolutely
so much fun. But yeah, we only other thing I want to say just before we get to the ending that we didn't mention, I was happy to see Rutina Wesley as Maria, but it makes sense. It's HBO. She was in True Blood, so I
My
get
my
it.
brother my brother said, "Oh, snap, Joel and his brother like black women." I was like, "Oh, snap."
Hell yeah, they both do.
I didn't
You
like
know what though? Honestly, I feel like it's weird, but it's true to Texas. There's a lot of biracial
oh,
couples
yeah?
in Texas, and it's usually white guys with curvy, beautiful black women. It's the wildest thing. And they be happy as shit, holding hands with this black woman. I love it.
I,
But yeah, I love that we got her playing this role. I love that she used to be assistant
mhm.
DA. Because now she's kind of one of the heads of the community, but also like she says there's no heads of the community. You know, she's running this socialist, I mean not socialist, yeah, communist sort of community.
Yeah.
Um, and I love her the moments with Ellie because
Yes.
Maria is seemingly feminine or very feminine, where Ellie is obviously not. You know, Ellie is, you know, maybe not exactly straight. We don't know yet. There's no confirmation.
So
But
she
you know,
in previous
huh?
episode, she hints at it previous episode, where
She's hinted at it a few
she's
times,
like
right?
boyfriend specifically.
She's like, absolutely not. You know, so I do love that she assumes that Maria doesn't understand her, you know, assumes that Maria is, you know, bad, especially being that they first met when she had a gun to her.
And
So
Maria's
it
also
makes sense.
attacking Joel, and at this point, Ellie's like, "Don't talk shit about Joel. I'll
She
defend."
is, and she's gonna defend her dad.
Right?
You know, but I love the moments because Maria, even when she says the whole you know, oh, just because you have a bad reputation doesn't mean you're a bad person. When she says it, she's looking at Joel. And I feel like in that moment, you kind of get the idea that Maria subtly thinks Joel is a bad person. Because she's separating, because I feel like later when Ellie asks, but are you worried about
Yeah.
Tommy? Because Tommy did the same things.
Yeah.
I feel like that sentence was kind of the response to that was some people have a bad rep, some people are bad. I feel like in this situation, Maria sees Joel as bad and Tommy as bad rep, you
But
know?
also, she even says her response to that is, "Well, he was following Joel." So he's not taking
Exactly.
accountability to Tommy. It's Joel's fault, and that's why she says, "You keep following him, it'll be the same." I love Ellie's response. Well, I'm smarter than Tommy. You know,
Mm.
she's like, "Oh, you're smart. You'd make a good lawyer." I did
Yup.
like their interaction. And it was also something that it's something that we rarely see in these kind of narratives and in many narratives at all. It's this one we see the
Diva Cup.
yeah, the Diva Cup, which is
That I was so happy to see. We never see anybody dealing with menstruation in a fucking
slicing the show,
apocalyptic show, movie, anything. I can't think of one time. And this is the second time now because periods come once a month.
right? Right.
Thank you.
You'd think
And
about
it makes sense that it would be a diva cup because I always thought that too. It must be annoying, like finding pads or tampons or whatever. Like a diva cup makes sense because you could keep it in
hmm
for your whole situation,
use it,
take it out, clean it, reuse it instead of this cotton situation that you have to throw out. And
right?
so I was like, wow, that makes sense.
It,
My reaction was the same as Ellie's.
it was fantastic. And even just moments of like Maria's like, "Here, have a shower, new clothes." She finally gets her clothes that we see, more clothes we see in the game, by the way.
Game clothes,
Right?
yeah.
And even the
Skins,
haircut, you know, just getting a little
yeah,
trim. You just those little things are like important. But we never
yeah.
see that. These things that you have to think about, we never see that in these post.
Joel's boots, he needs replacement
By
boots.
the way, those boots
Even boots can't last.
that boot moment reminded me of crafting again in the game. You just gotta, you know, fix shit up, you know.
I loved it. Just duct tape,
And actually
fine.
another part from the game, the way he chokes out the guy. I was like, oh, that's what I do in the game. Choke
Right, yeah, stone.
either choke him or you shiver them. I usually
Right, choke or shiv. I tend to shiv.
yeah, I tend to
But
choke.
no, I choke people out a lot. I don't like wasting my shivs.
Exactly. You need the shivs for the clickers.
You need the shivs for the special doors.
Oh, and the special doors.
Because
And
God
that's
forbid you don't have a shiv and you go to pass a door, you'll never let yourself
no,
live it down. Because
no.
you're always going to remember that door that you left in that one room because you didn't have a complete shiv.
And that door usually contains enough stuff to get back your shiv that you had, plus
It always gives you a replacement
so it's
shiv.
never
That's
waste.
why you got to keep a shiv. You always got to have one shiv so you can use your shiv on the door and have a future shiv for the next door.
Yeah,
You
and
only use a shiv
for the
if you have
clickers.
two, and that's an upgrade
When the
because you
clickers
won't always have two shivs.
out of nowhere, it's always good to have a shiv to just stab them off of you.
Yeah, you need a shiv. You need a shiv, man.
Gotta get a shiv.
Clickers, definitely
I
for the
still
clickers.
want more crafting, like making a shiv. You know, I want some of that stuff.
Right.
I want
Because I'm like, what are the last three episodes going to be all like the battle scenes, like going to war?
I actually think I don't know this for sure. I actually think the next episode's going to be Left Behind flashback.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
100% think one, the episode is going to be called Left Behind, and two, the entire episode is going to be the game of Left Behind,
Right,
but the storyline. Because that, yeah, the storyline took about 2.5 hours to defeat, but if you took out all the gameplay, it literally would be like 1 hour
right.
episode. So I hope.
Even like because you need a gap between Joel's death and
Oh, something's in my
what happens
eye.
next.
One of my locks. One of my locks must be,
Speaking
you
of,
know.
it happens right in the game. It's during an attack. Ellie goes to fall. He pushes Ellie out the way. He falls from a different story in the building inside and gets impaled. Right, and I remember in the game
That was tough in the game because you have to help him get up.
and
He
pulling him off.
falls from like 2 stories and lands on like a glass shiv from a window. Yeah, and you have to not only help pull him up, but you also have to shoot at people
Yes,
to
well,
help you get away while you help hold up this grown ass man
who's
who's very much heavier than you.
exactly. They did a great job
He
of
feels heavy in the game because the vibration is intense. Like you're really like, oh come on.
like ah.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I really enjoyed that. And I think in the game it leaves you like, oh shit, and then dragging him on the horse, trying to get away
Yeah.
slowly. I think
Because the game chapter ends the same way that this episode did, where like literally it's just open
fade
ended.
to
You have no
black.
idea. Yeah, and it sucks. And then you play some random stupid side mission,
Right.
and you're like, "What happened to Joel?"
Oh yeah, that's when you meet the other people in the snow, which I don't know if we're gonna do that side mission.
I don't think so. I feel like we skipped that already,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
like
feel
timeline wise. Because also, y'all at home, just because I don't think it's gonna happen. I mentioned she got kidnapped. That's the part where she gets kidnapped
yeah,
is when
exactly,
Joel
exactly,
gets hurt.
exactly.
So it just really sucks. It's very inconvenient. Joel gets stabbed. It has internal bleeding. He's bleeding everywhere, and then you get kidnapped. Like
Yes.
you don't
So
even
I
know.
think I
So
think it's gonna play out slightly differently. But I did like hinting, speaking of Ellie taking charge, another moment that Joel realizes that, I may not have the strength for this, or I may not have what I used to have, is when he's supposed to be on watch and he falls asleep.
oh, that's one thing I really wanted to mention that I forgot to mention about the whole Joel fear and him and Ellie growing closer thing.
Mm.
One of the beautiful things that we got to see in this episode is like, well, not beautiful but true. Is the moment where Joel says, "I'm gonna take both watches,"
Yes.
and in my head, I'm at least 20 plus years younger than Joel, and I was like, "Ain't no fucking way."
You're staying up,
Ain't no Me in my 30s, ain't no way in hell I'm doing double watch after traveling all day,
right?
even in a car, not on a horse, in a car. I'm still not doing two watches. There's no fucking way. I'm thinking to myself, Joel, come on now. Come on now, Joel. You're both gonna be dead by the morning if you're the only one taking watch. But
Mm.
I'm like, whatever. So I love that he actually couldn't, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't capable. And that
He was
not
comfortable,
only was Ellie taking watch now, but Ellie had a whole day.
right?
Ellie did plenty of things. Ellie was up for a while.
Yeah.
So if
And
somebody were to
uh,
sneak up on them or anything like that, obviously Joel wouldn't have known. Joel would have been deep in sleep had
well,
anyone
we've seen that
came
happen
up to the camp.
with Henry.
Exactly. So this is the second time now. So I do love that we get that moment. I love that I felt like in this scene also Joel has to subtly understand and accept the fact, even though it's hard for him, he does need Ellie as much as she needs him
Yep. Yep.
because he's not going to make it there either without her,
Yep.
unfortunately,
It's about the
because he's
partnership.
always had Tess too. He's always had another person, that was capable. As much as he acts like he's a lone wolf, you've had a partner this whole time.
Mhm.
And sadly, even though Ellie's young, Ellie has to be this partner. And as he said in the last episode, I think it's easier when you're young.
Yep.
Um, I think it is. It's easier for her to stay up all night and to go do some of the hunt,
Well,
you know?
it's also his way of he's still trying to force her to remain a child. In previous episode when she has to save him from the guy who attacks, he's pushing like you shouldn't have to grow up so quickly, all that kind of stuff. So he wants to do everything for her, and it's realizing slowly that she is capable, which I think has a through line to later in the episode when he's teaching her how to shoot a rifle. Right? He's gone from nope, you cannot have a gun to all right, I'm going to teach you how to shoot a rifle. Is accepting her place and realizing that she is capable, and
She can hold her own,
not just that you need her help. It's
literally.
not her holding her own, is that you need her help.
Right.
You both need each other's help, like you mentioned. Um,
And they have to like accept each other as an actual team now. And that's what I kind of like too is that like this episode is like all right, guys, they're a team.
I,
They're
I love
officially a team.
I love the choice of music at the end. It's the acoustic version of Depeche Mode's "Never Let Me Down Again," which
They're
is
in trouble
which is saying a lot. And like you said, yes,
again.
80s music is a sign of trouble, as the first episode told us. When 80s music plays, that's a
Cause Joel down, y'all. Joel
down
down.
fade to
Oof.
black. What's gonna
Oof.
happen next? Where's it gonna go? I
That's tough because I didn't see that guy approaching Joel either.
no,
That guy came out of nowhere.
I love that stab because it comes out of nowhere, and two, Joel doesn't realize it until after the fact, like, oh shit, I got stabbed.
Adrenaline. He protected his cub.
Three, I mentioned before, this show does a fantastic job of highlighting or drawing attention to character deaths, even if it's not a main character. Because when Joel chokes the guy to death, when the other guys come, they make a point to be like, "Fuck, they killed him, that asshole." Every time someone dies, other people react to their death. It's not just
Yeah, I
their
do
death.
love that. They don't just run past them.
Right,
Like in
exactly.
shows and movies, they always just like abandon their dead friend all of a sudden. And they're like, let's go chase that car.
Right,
Yeah, chase scene. Or like, let's go run through the woods
right,
and follow them. It's like, bro, your friend died.
right. Even if you're henchman, you're still you get to know each other, and so
Right. It's still like your
kill.
fellow, like, it's like your coworker. I don't know. I'd care if my coworker got shot mid shift.
Right.
I'd give a shit. I don't know.
At the very least, at the very least,
Even if I didn't like them very much, I'd be like, well, that sucks.
or at the very least, react like in Iron Man 3 when the guy is like, "Yeah, I'm not with these guys."
Right. Either or, but there should be a reaction at
A
bare
reaction
minimum, like
of some kind.
something.
Um,
Or
I think that's everything.
I think so.
Fun
I think
fact.
so.
Fun fact. In the second
Yeah.
game, Ellie has a horse named Shimmer, and in this episode, we see a horse called Shimmer as a little fowl. Just little Easter egg to throw it in there.
Baby,
Just
little baby
little
shimmer.
baby Easter egg. And also the reason why Ellie in both the game and the show is wants to be an astronaut and a big fan of astronauts is because the actress who voices her in the game is actually a huge fan of space and NASA and sci-fi and all that stuff. So that's what that was thrown in there.
I just thought it was her comic books.
No, well, again,
That she was just
it's written in there.
inspired.
It's written in there from the writers themselves. Um. Anyway, on that note, thank you, Raven.
Yeah, I think that's actually everything. Yeah, thank you.
What are your thoughts on this show so far? Are you a fan of the game? Do you like the changes that have been made? Are you someone who hasn't played the game but now wants to play the game? I have a friend of mine who's an Xbox guy, and he's like, they should release this game on the Xbox. I'm like, sorry, man, it's
Nah, dude.
a PlayStation only game. You're not going to see it like on
Yeah, it's a
the board.
PlayStation exclusive. I tell you this though, I bet you PlayStation sales are going through the roof
Oh, 100%.
with this
I can
with
see
this game, with
I can
this
see the
adaptation.
sales of the first and second game are crazy right now. People are buying this game
Because
because
there's probably people that like don't have a PS5 and don't care to, but will buy a PS4 to play this.
yes,
You know what
100%.
I'm saying? Because the PS4 is like $200 right now. So
Yeah,
like, oh
100%.
yeah, for those of you listening at home, little hack. Don't bother if you don't want to get a PS5. You're not a super gamer, but you do want to play this. Just get a PS4,
Right.
or yeah, that's it. That's it. Just get a
You
PS4.
can get the original remake. You don't even have to get the original remaster.
Right, you don't even have to get nothing crazy. And the second game is also on PS4, so you could
Okay,
play games one and two, and then you can trade it in. You can take it back,
there
and you
you
can
go.
trade it the same way that you got it in the first place.
There you go. That's a,
You just play the game, finish it, and return it.
or if you really can't do that, another hack. A lot of people do this. You can watch gameplay videos. People play the full game, record it.
I was gonna say that too. My wife is actually super into watching me play the game.
Hmm.
So like it would suck for her sometimes because I play like really late at night. Like I'm usually gaming from like 10 p.m. to like 2 a.m. So like, she goes to bed before me. So she's up watching me play and is like dozing off. So she would like fall asleep or whatever, and she would be like, "Oh, I almost want you to pause it. Like, I don't want you to keep
Oh,
playing because like I want to see what happens." So in the morning when she would wake up, I would literally find the YouTube clip of the part of the game that I passed and
mhm.
like show her like the whole video. And I think that there's like a whole like there's a 2 hour
Oh
plus
yeah,
edit on
people have
YouTube
edited.
of
Yeah,
literally the whole
excellent stuff.
thing. So if you guys, yeah, if you did want to watch that, you could just watch the whole gameplay.
There you go.
Save you a lot of time. It took about 18, 20 hours to beat that fucking game. So
Right? And
depending on how much time you got on your
not
hands.
time, but like anxiety, because that game gives you anxiety. Because
Oh, it's stressful as hell.
people don't realize who haven't played the game.
Also, it's
It's a
scary.
stealth game.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
It's scary. Yes, it's like a scary stealth game. It's not really an action.
It's kind of terrifying. It's a horror game
It's more
for
hard because
sure.
you have weapons and guns and stuff, but you're limited with the ammo, so you have to be smart on how you use it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to avoid the fight and just run around because it's
It's like Resident Evil if the story was better.
right,
Like
right.
the story was really, 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 really good. That's about it. Yeah.
Once again, thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening. My name is English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch presentation of The Bunch of Us, where we spoke about The Last of Us Episode 6. Tune in next week for Episode 7. I'm excited for that one.
Ooh,
And as always,
it's
Raven,
gonna be called Left Behind. Keep it nerdy. Peace.
peace.